What a beautiful day for the Illinois Final Illini hosting the Michigan Wolverines. 100-year anniversary of Memorial Stadium opening up, and the Galloping Ghost. The history when he scored all those touchdowns in the first quarter against Michigan all those years ago. This is the ILL segment, part of the Coach Steve Show. Make sure you like to subscribe to the Coach Steve Show YouTube channel to get all the stuff on Illinois athletics. The ILL segment involves everything with Illinois athletics. Illinois ranked number 22 in the nation, hosting the number 24 ranked Michigan Wolverines. Illinois is 5-1 overall, 2-1 in conference. Michigan is 4-2 overall, 2-1 in conference. Also, the game got flexed to the 3:30 Eastern time slot, which means it's one of the primetime games. And Illinois is on the up and up, hosting the defending champions. It's a sold-out Memorial Stadium in Champaign. It's going to be rocking. It's going to be a good time. I am completely jealous that I have not been able to go, but it's going to be rocking. It's going to be fun. Illinois is coming off that overtime win versus Purdue, a closer game when they were up 27-3. Michigan is coming off a bye week. So let's talk about the game, the keys to the game for Illinois. Now, I have a couple of friends that are Michigan fans, and this is what I always tell. I would love to see Illinois just dominate right from the get-go, but I would love to also see a very competitive, good game. And there's a lot of keys to this game. Michigan is that toss-up because they have a new head coach, new pieces everywhere, and it's not the same team that they had last year as defending champs. That's not even close. They're not anywhere near as good as they were. I don't care what people say. The two losses they had were to Texas. Texas is picked to possibly win the national championship. They lost that game 31-12. Then they lost to Washington, who went to the national title game, and they lost 27-17. Now, their schedule is suspect. I don't like to sit here and say what week schedule. They don't play anybody, but they're not the same Michigan team. They're not scoring. They're not moving the ball as well as they needed to. They're now going to be on their third quarterback this season, which does not bode well when you're trying to get some gelling going on in your offense. Fresno State, they beat 30-10. Arkansas State, they won 28-18, which is a close game. They actually did beat USC, which is a good win for them, 27-24. One of the games that they actually balled out on. Minnesota, you could say what you want. Minnesota either plays like one of the top, 25 teams, or they play like a bottom. You can never figure it out. They won that one 27-24. So that's why Michigan to me is a toss-up. Which Michigan team are you about to get? Are you going to get the USC Michigan team? Or are you going to get the Texas, the Fresno States, the Arkansas States? Are you going to get one of those Michigans? They're not really good on offense. They're ranked really low on offense. And again, you're starting your third quarterback coming into this game. So they're going to start Jack Tuttle. Jack Tuttle is a seventh-year quarterback. He was at Utah as a freshman in 2018. Isn't it crazy that you're going to play a kid that's been around for 7 years? Like, I don't even know how that's possible. I know the COVID stuff and all that, but it just doesn't seem right unless you have like a bunch of injuries, right? And maybe he did. I don't know. I'm not going to look that deep into it if he had a bunch of injuries, but I do think it's absolutely asinine that unless you are riddled by injuries, and then still can look at it and say, okay, he's had a bunch of injuries. What kind of injuries? We can try to help him get his playing time and everything else. But a 7-year quarterback, that seems crazy. He was at Utah in 2018. He didn't play there. He kind of played a little bit. He was at 4 years in Indiana, and then he came to Michigan in 2023. They're averaging 8.52 yards per pass completion, which ranks them 133rd and last in the nation. They are 130 in passing offense. They're 119th in total offense, and they are 102nd in scoring, 23.5 points per game. So their offense is not going well. Here places Alex Orjai. I would say I'm a dumb country boy if you can't tell by the camo. Dumb country boy. He was 10 of 18 for 98 yards and a touchdown. He had a fumble and interception. So again, Michigan's offense versus Illinois' defense. Illinois' defense has proven to be one of the, I don't know if I guess you could say one of the best, but last week they kind of fell off a little bit in the second half. But I jumped to conclusions, so I need to apologize to Aaron Henry and Coach Bielema. They talked about how, as coaches, they kind of started to call things that they haven't really called all season, and it kind of led to this. And when it leads to this, when you don't practice anything close to what they're doing, then it doesn't look good. Sorry. So their offense is not very good. Illinois' defense is actually pretty good, and they're going to fix the mistakes that they made. Statistically, we're going to look at Illinois. They average 31 points per game. When we look at what they give up on defense, they don't give up a lot of points on defense. I know they gave up a lot last week, which I know. It is what it is. We're going to get the stats up here really quick. Michigan has actually picked 60% to win this game, which I think is very, very high. Luke Altmaier is even playing better than all of them. He has 14 touchdowns and 1 interception. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to Michigan's offense. When you're coming in, now you're going to have a veteran guy. Now, this guy, Tuttle, has been around. So when you look at this and they've been around, what's going to help save them is that he's seen a lot, right? But what's going to help Illinois is that he hasn't played a lot, if that makes sense. Like, you've seen it, you've been around, but you haven't played. And so there is a difference. When you haven't played, yeah, you can lead the guys in the huddle. They're going to put out defenses out there that you've probably seen. But you need to understand that doesn't really help you playing, especially against the Illinois defense that is going to switch it up. They're going to play man coverage on your guys. And if you don't have explosive guys and they're able to play man on you, they are able to now blitz around. They're able to get in different looks, able to roll guys down, and they are able to now try to bring pressure against you whichever which way, especially if you're not running the ball well. If you're not running the ball well, they are able to now kind of play, not even base, they can kind of get different looks. The flip side of that, they started to do that in the second half against Purdue, and it didn't go well. But they've been able to practice it now. And I think that was kind of a wake-up call because Coach Bielema and company, they said they started to call different calls that they haven't done all year. But, I mean, I know they've practiced it probably, but they're not – if it's not in a game situation, you probably should just stick with what you were doing. And then by that time, they're starting to like, okay, this isn't working. Purdue now had all the momentum, everything else. So we're going to compare here, talk about Michigan's rushing offense. They average 5.1 yards per carry, which to me is pretty good. They have 1,148 rushing yards this season. They average about 191 on the ground. Passing, they're getting about 115. So they're pretty balanced, but those numbers are not going to compete in the Big Ten and possibly, if there is a playoff. They only have 6 passing touchdowns, which is not good. Rushing touchdowns, they have 9. So some of these, they sound pretty good, but it's not up to what Michigan was doing last year. So they average 306 yards per game. And so those things are not registering towards what they were doing last year. And I know that we just have to compare to what they were doing last year all the time. So we're going to compare it to Illinois' offense. So Illinois' offense is averaging 31 points per game. They have 1,455 yards of passing. Their rushing, we only have 837. Compared to Michigan's rushing yards, they have 1,148. So they're really relying on the run game. But Illinois has proven that they can clamp down on the run game. They can clamp down on that. And so now you're playing a quarterback that hasn't played. I think Illinois needs to sell out on the run game and play man coverage because they really aren't threatening you that much through the air. Receiving, their most receiving guy is Loveland, their tight end, who has 261 yards. So if that's been the only guy that is threatening through the air, you could play man coverage everywhere else. And then you could sell it on the run if this is what you want to do, especially with a quarterback that has been around but doesn't have all the experience playing. Sell out on the run. And they are going to be physical up front. That's part of Michigan's staple. And I'm not sitting here saying Michigan is like a garbage team, but they're still trying to figure themselves out. When you build a national championship team the way that Jim Harbaugh and company did it, they did it a little bit through the portal, but they recruited, they kept guys, and they just built it the right way. And then when you lose all that and you lose your head coach, you lose a couple staff members that went with him to the Chargers, and now you have a target on your back because you're the defending national champions. You now are trying to rebuild yourself. And I know Michigan's circling this Illinois game, probably saying this is where we can get back on track. Because as you look at Michigan's schedule, and I know this is not a Michigan podcast, but like Michigan State, you'd have to think you can compete for that game. You're not going to compete against Oregon. Indiana's better now. You could compete against Northwestern, and then you got the game against Ohio State. And I think Ohio State might get back to winning that series now. So you were kind of hoping that you would beat Washington. Texas is pretty good. So you're looking at this like, hey, this can help us try to get this thing going. I just don't think Michigan's going to be able to really move the ball on Illinois. Now, Illinois is a bend, don't break. So if you get a couple big plays, cool. But they're also not averaging that many points per game. So if we look at, I don't know if I said it already, they're averaging 23. Illinois is giving up less than that. So I think Illinois' defense is going to be just fine. It's the other side. This is going to be a battle of defenses, and it's going to be a battle of who's able to move the ball. Michigan, they have a very physical defense. According to Coach Bart Miller, he thinks that Michigan is one of the best front seven in the entire country. Now, Michigan's 44-5 in the last 49 games, 31-2 in the Big Ten since 2021. Different type of team. Michigan, they have one of the best run defenses in the Big Ten. They allow just 76 rushing yards per game. Coach Bart Miller's exact quote is one of the best, if not the best, in the country. So Michigan really sells out on the run. They believe if they stop the run, you have to beat us through the air. Last year, with this Illinois team, you might have been a little suspect of, okay, can we do this through the air? Illinois' offense is much better than what it was last year. Michigan's given up 259 passing yards per game, and it's the third worst in the conference. Luke Altmaier has proven that he can pass the ball around. Last week, he had 379 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and he also ran for 60 versus Purdue. He's thrown for 14 touchdown passes all season. It's one more than he did all of last year. And he has more passing yards in the last 3 games, 779 yards. Michigan, throughout the whole year, has only had 690, right? So this is going to become to a battle of defenses here. Illinois' run defense has been up and down, or our run offense has been up and down this season. And that's because of injuries. But Josh McCray last week stepped in and really did a good job catching the ball, running the ball. Rushing, again, we've only had, it's suspect, 837 rush yards. And Coach Bielema wants to be a guy that wants to run the football. We're averaging 3.9 yards per clip. We average 139 on the ground, and we have 7 rushing touchdowns. So this is going to become a battle of how can we still run the ball. But Brent Bielema and Barry Loney Jr., they're not idiots, right? If they're trying to run the ball and it's not going well, they have to start getting creative. How do we get in different formations to create different blocking lanes? Play action. off of attempting to run the ball. And knowing that we do have guys, we have good receivers this year, right? Um, I compared Michigan's wide receivers. After they're tight end, they don't have anybody with over 100 yards catching the ball. Here's Illinois' receiving core. Pat Bryant has 452 receiving yards. Sakari Franklin has 346 receiving yards. Colin Dixon has 137, and Hank Beatty has 121. So we have 4 guys over 100 yards receiving. Josh McCray as a running back has 91. Tanner Arkin, tight end, has 83. Ensley has 66. So what's proven this year with Illinois is that they're able to spread the ball around to different people. And they seem to be pretty unselfish of, I don't care if I have over these many yards. We want to win the football game and move the ball. Kane Fagan is injured. He's our leading guy with 306 yards rushing. Josh McCray has 181. Lowry has 145. So even though it seems like Illinois is struggling to run the ball, I think it's just consistent running the ball, if that makes sense. So not saying that they can't run the football, but it's just been consistently like, let's say the first quarter they run the football well, and the second quarter they don't. But the Illinois offense is so balanced that if they go in saying, okay, this quarter we're struggling to run the football, we kind of have to pass it a little bit. Maybe we got to get Luke Altmaier running the football here and there. They're very well balanced in that play calling. And so this balanced offense versus this defense that is able to, against this defense that's able to stop the run, we may have to rely on Luke Altmaier in the passing game a little bit, sprinkle in the run a little bit. So that's the beauty of this offense is I know they want to run the football. Coach Bielema wants to run the football. There's no question about it. But they also know that they have to pass the ball. So this game is going to come down to, can they run the football when they need to? And it seems like we talk about Chicago Bears, right? If you guys listen, there's a segment here called Bear Down where me and Zach Kalman talk about the Bears. It's like the flavor of the week, right? Pat Bryant's kind of emerged as like the receiver. And I said that if you don't have guys that can just throw the ball up to, this offense is going to struggle. Well, now they got 2, Pat Bryant and Sakari Franklin. Pat Bryant has 7 receiving touchdowns. Illinois is very good. They call it, it's the red zone, but they call it the green zone. When they get down there, and this was one of the struggles again with Illinois, was when they get to the red zone or the green zone, do they score? And they struggled with it. This year, they are not struggling with it. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to come down to, can Illinois' defense just do what they do, right? We can't outsmart ourselves, and I don't think they will, right? I am not talking bad about Aaron Henry, Brent Bielema, anything. They have one of the best coaching staffs in the Big Ten, in my opinion. And there's a lot of great coaching staffs. But they admitted to it. They said, they were calling things they normally don't. They were trying different things. And now I think they know, right? So whatever's working, they'll stick with it. And I've done it as a coach. I think the phrase is outsmart yourself a little bit. And they sort of did that. Now, credit to Purdue with what they were doing also. But I think they now know. They now know that if it's working and we're stopping them, this is what they need to do. They have to create pressure on this quarterback that doesn't have a lot of playing time. Yes, he's older. Their coach said that they call him Uncle Jack because he's been around for 7 years. I think you got to get him to move around a little bit. I think you have to just sell it on the run and trust that our secondary is able to stay healthy and they're able to play man coverage. Maybe you match up zone it where it looks like zone, then they get in there and you pick them up and it's man. And able to do those things, and you just sell it on the run, right? And give them different looks. I think the things you could start calling up front is different stunts. Because if they're good at running the football, stunning will help confuse the offensive line, and you're able to stop the run. Offensively, for Illinois, I know that they're going to go up against one of the best front 7, so it's going to be a big challenge for the offensive line. Now it's as a play caller, how do you help out the O-line, right? Is it, okay, pulling the guys is helping us run the ball more, so maybe we got to start pulling. Adding a fullback tight end in there to help block, is that's what's going to do this. Is it the RPO game? So now if you're able to hit key screens or the short passing games, how do you dictate Michigan to try to lighten that box up, even though they can probably lighten the box up and still clamp down on the run game, but just to help out the O-line and everybody else to try to do that. And Josh McCray is going to have a big game. And I think if Josh McCray continues to prove that he can be a threat in the air and a threat on the ground, and that 1-2 punch, right? Ian Lowry's kind of that faster, speedier guy, and Josh McCray's the big bruiser, but he can also catch, right? So just continue to do those things. And Luke Altmaier, I think, is just going to have another big game. And he's accepted that, and he's able to put that stuff on his shoulders. And we can't turn the ball over, right? And we just have to clamp down and kind of put our foot on their throat and turn it, right? This is not going to be a blowout. It kind of – I'm looking at on paper – and I'm looking at it with what the schedule has been, you're thinking that Illinois should be able to win this game. They're at home, sold out crowd. It's going to be bumping. But Michigan, they're picked to win, right? They're picked to win, which is crazy because of the way it's going. But it is Michigan, right? It is that game. And I don't know betting odds on different websites. ESPN has Michigan a -1. I'm going to try to look up FanDuel here. Just give me a hot second. Oh, yeah, FanDuel's not going to let me see it because you can't bet on Illinois sports in Illinois. Sorry. So Michigan is like a -1, -2.5, which is crazy. Over-under right now is 42.5. They opened at -1. Now they're -4. Illinois is +4. Over-under 44.5. The money line, Michigan -195, Illinois +165. I wish I could bet on Illinois in the state of Illinois. That is absolutely crazy that you can't, because I think Illinois is going to win this football game. I just have that feeling that they're going to get it. They played Michigan 2 years ago, I believe, and they almost had them. It's a close game. But it's going to come down to who's more physical. It's going to come down to who can execute. And if Illinois does not turn the football over, and on defense, they are just out-physicaling them up front, and I think they just kind of have to say we're going to stall on the run. If you're going to beat us, this inexperienced quarterback playing time-wise has to beat us. But we trust our safeties and corners and everything else to do their job. And again, we're okay giving up big plays as long as they don't turn into points. And as long as Illinois can burn time off the clock and just move the football and do those things, they're going to be okay. So how the Illinois receiver is going to be able to combat this if we can't run the football very well? How are we going to handle the front seven trying to run the football? And on defense, you just sell it on the run. So I think it's going to be a fun, bumping game here. They can't allow what happened with Purdue last week, but Coach Brent Bielema said that was one of the best things that could have happened to them, being put in that situation. How do they fight, and how do they come back from that? And they did, and making the plays when they needed to, learn from that and say, can we take that first half mojo and just have it be for the entire game? And do not overlook this Michigan team, because you have some players there that were on that national championship team, so they understand how to win. And for them to be sitting at 4-2 with how quote unquote poorly they've played is a positive for Michigan. So this is not going to be just roll over Michigan. I mean, they're being picked to win. A lot of them are picking them to win. So we can't allow that to seek into our minds, and we can't overlook this saying, well, then we got to go to Oregon next week, which is a big time matchup. They might be number 1 in the nation or still stick at number 2, depending how the Texas-Georgia game goes. If Georgia pulls that off, Oregon would probably jump to number 1. And Oregon took care of business versus Purdue 35-0, which is what Illinois probably should have done. So it's going to be a big-time game. Those are the keys to the game. I know Illinois fan, but I just have that feeling that Illinois is going to come out of this win. So I'll be watching it. Today there will be a post-game pretty much immediately after to talk about the game. So join me there. So to join me there, you got to like and subscribe to the Coach Steve Show YouTube channel, the ILI segment, where we talk about everything Illinois. Check out all the other stuff on there. There's talks with college football coaches and high school football coaches. I talk all levels of college coaches. There's sports reporters on there. There's the Bear Down segment where we talk about everything Chicago Bears. Just a bunch of stuff there for everybody. Check it out on Apple and Spotify. Rate it, leave a review. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. The game's not on for a few hours. What do you think is going to happen in this game? If you're a Michigan fan, Illinois fan, I want to hear from you. Follow on X, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So thanks everybody for watching or listening. I think they're going to pull it off. So thanks everybody for watching or listening. This is Coach Steve. We'll see you guys next time.